Hello.
Hello, hello. You have a blank piece of paper there.
Do I?
You do.
Cool.
He's been cleaning.
Well, yeah, it is cleaner than it was.
It is. Can't see it on the other video though. Look, it's very clean. Very, very clean. Crazy clean. Let me squeeze in here and...
Can you get in?
Yeah, I'm good. Hello from Australia. Everybody's joining us, so.
Cool. Australia.
Amy Baker Art is on.
Amy.
Amy.
How's Amy doing?
Jason says, hey, Alan and Vicki, hope you and family had a wonderful holiday.
Oh, we did. It was great. We had a lot of people.
A lot of people. My sisters and their husbands came in. And dogs.
Yeah. Some of them were fun to be around.
Oh,
I'm just kidding. They're all fun to be around.
I know. He's such a pig. Good evening from Utah.
Utah. I don't think I've heard Utah before. That's cool. Not heard of Utah, but heard somebody say.
And Venezuela.
Oh, cool.
Hello from Jonah. Uh-oh, everything is clean, and so I have nowhere to set my water down.
Haha.
I hope everyone's having a good year. We're having a good year.
So far it's
May was sick before Christmas.
yeah, for a few weeks.
The flu.
And your mother was kind of sick during Christmas a little
A
bit.
little bit. Everybody had fun. It's going to be hard on Monday morning. Hopefully everyone's having fun. Initial sketching.
Oh yeah, this is mostly just playing.
Asking, what are you drawing?
I don't know.
Does not know. He likes to draw a stream of conscious.
I don't know yet. Anyway. I feel like it might be a dragon's kind of shape head or something. Maybe.
Dragon head.
Yeah. I don't do a whole lot of traditional, dragon kind of things.
No. Those look like teeth though.
Well, it started off like that, so.
Uh-oh. Broke a pencil.
That's because I dropped it on the floor earlier. When you drop these pencils, the lead breaks all through it.
Uh-oh. But you
That's
hold your on and keep using it?
well, yeah. Sometimes it doesn't break consistently, and eventually you get to a point where it's not anymore. But often when you drop them, they'll just like shatter all the way.
That's a Tombow mono or Mitsubishi?
This is Tombow.
Tombow mono
Yeah,
100.
and the softer the lead, the more it's apt to shatter like that if you drop them. And I dropped this earlier. So gotta be careful when you blow shavings up your drawing too, because you can totally accidentally spit on a drawing, which I've done before.
We do have a YouTube channel now. It is AllenWilliams Studio.
Yep.
Yeah, we've been kind of on again, off again on our Instagram live feeds.
Yeah.
The pencil is a Tombow Mono 100 6B pencil.
Yes, it is.
Which is his
This
favorite
is
pencil.
my favorite. It's really they have a really dark binder in the lead, so when you want to go really dark with it, it goes pretty dark, And 6B is kind of my average because I can go pretty light from there or go as dark as I want.
And which pencil sharpener do you like the best?
Those hand sharpeners, I like the
Cum.
Cum, K-U-M. The long points. One side takes off the wood and the other side sharpens the lead. Yep. And then I have a crank sharpener. It's Pretty nice. The Carl Angel 5, which I modified a little bit to make a slightly longer point.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not going to be a landscape. He's thinking of a dragon, possibly.
And then when I have bigger pencils that I need to really get into,
Oh, stop. He doesn't know what he's drawing yet.
no, well,
Hopefully everyone's had a good New Year's Eve. Safe.
I'm just having fun right now, so.
You do it. Said they like your art.
Oh, thank you.
Oh. On the 11th of January,
Oh yeah.
you'll be on muddycolors.com.
Yeah, I'm doing an article. I'm going to be one of the contributors on Muddy Colors, which is pretty cool.
Yes.
If you get a chance, there's a lot of really good information on Muddy Colors.
It's like an article a day is posted by a different professional.
Yeah, and there's lots of inspiration and education going on that site, and it's all free.
Yes.
There is a Patreon associated with it where you can get more. Like I think they have videos and things
They
that
do.
they put up on
download
Patreon.
and everything.
So.
Yes.
Uh,
And yes, our YouTube, someone else asked, the YouTube channel is AllenWilliams Studio, which is also our website. Oh, we've kind of been paused for the holidays.
Mostly.
Mostly. Any art-related goals for 2019?
It's kind of strange is I don't really think in terms. I guess there are projects. I guess we want to make a book this year.
There's no guess.
But-
We're doing that. Yeah.
So you
Yes.
say. I'll believe it when I see it. But
Oh, he's giving me the eye. Oh no.
well, no, it's. I mean, it's
Yes.
just one of those things that So a book for 2019 is
Looking
definitely on the agenda.
Yes, people are drawing along with you.
Oh, good. That's cool. I love these little tiny skulls you get from Anatomy Tools. I think, they're not cheap. They're like $20 for these little tiny skulls, but they're super detailed and super realistic for their size. Like it wouldn't surprise you if you dug up a miniature person and this is what these are. They're very well done.
A miniature person.
Yeah. Well,
Very
my kids call them fairy skulls, like the acorns that are out
The
there.
acorns out of the.
But there's a lot of detail in it for its size and the scale. So
These are from anatomytools.com.
yeah.
Try to get a hit on a head. That would be awesome.
It's kind of what's going on.
Yeah, I like that. I like it a lot. This is suddenly feel motivated after you brought out the cleaver.
Oh yeah.
Yes, people should draw along with. People like to listen and draw.
Well, you know what's
As they're talking, which is very cool.
It's funny is I don't know what the deal is about like that heavy iron. I mean, I have other things too that are like heavy iron like this. It's just an iron link that I had a chain that I cut the links off of, and I made a couple of these for a few people that are in the family, and it's just a piece of old antique cold iron. I can unplug my phone. But it has like a weird kind of heft to it that when you hold it in your hand, for me, I don't know, there's something about it that feels really comforting. I'm not sure if it's because it's cold or the age of it or whatever. Same thing with that cleaver. There's certain tools you put in your hand and they're sort of comforting. I don't know why, but maybe it's nostalgia or something, But
Someone being a smart aleck.
Huh?
And someone asked how long have you been drawing? And
Oh.
I said 5 minutes.
No, this, yeah, well, but since as early as I can remember, since I was very, very little, my earliest like pieces that I can find were like little postcards and stories that I made for my mother when I was 3 and 4 years old that were like little creatures talking to her. It was still
Yes.
monsters, but it was just little tiny monsters that were very, drawn like a kid draws. And my daughter obviously likes to draw. She was she got a hold of this is the little thing I put on my desk sometimes just to have a white background to work against. So she got up here and drew all these little creepy characters with no eyes, and some of them are carrying knives and they're saying kind of disturbing things, some of
I told you not to make me mad.
them. This one says, "Hi, I'm Maeve, run."
Run.
So she was being purposefully creepy though. She knew what she was doing.
To all you sinners.
Yeah, right. You're all gonna die tonight, and I don't know what that says but I don't know. She's been around my work enough that she knows how to purposely try to be creepy, and she can do it. We woke up one night and she had these little they're kids versions of night vision goggles, which are
Right.
basically goggles with LEDs on them.
Right.
She was in our closet, going through our closet with those glowing lights on her head, and all I saw were these two pair of eyes looking at me from out of the
from
closet. Yeah,
That's creepy.
yeah.
What made you stop using pen and ink?
Uh, I don't know. I gravitate towards different things at different times. There are times when I still pick up pen and ink and play with it, especially when I'm doing smaller sketches. I'll do pen and ink thumbnails with the like the Pentel brush pen, because you can get little gestural qualities and movement in it with
Yeah.
that brush pen that are pretty fun.
All right, into the mix here. Do you ever battle negative thoughts while forming ideas? If so,
Always.
how do you focus your mind for your art?
This is a kind of an ongoing kind of.
So
I wouldn't say
you
it's.
always battle
I
negative.
wouldn't say it's a joke, but it's an ongoing thing. It's like that thing they say in the Avengers with the Hulk, when he says his secret is that he's always angry. Well, my secret is that I'm always battling all those things all the time. Most of the actual artists that I know are too. They're constantly battling negativity in their own head, and I think it's more healthy for an artist to have negative thoughts and to like look at their work and go, it's not good enough, than to be the other way and say that everything they do is great, because you end up then not pushing yourself as much. But hopefully, you have some moments, passages where you look at it and you go, oh, I think this is kind of working, and have bits and pieces that. But for me, it doesn't last long. I'll like a piece maybe for a few days.
Yeah, but when you're just forming the ideas, though, she asked about when you're just starting an idea. And
See, that's kind of a fragile
But
time
you-
anyway, because for me, the thing that happens with me is that I have so many things I want to do that I get stalled in trying to decide which one to do. And so that's another form of an artist block, but it's kind of the opposite of what most people think of not having, when they just can't think of what to draw. For
well,
me,
that, and you also do the. You also have the. Oh well, someone else has done this. Someone
well,
else has done
I
that.
do that all the time. Yeah, because I mean, most of everything that I see, and when I'm sitting here thinking of something to do, I think, well, I've seen it before, but then I go, but I haven't seen my take on it. I haven't done my take on it, and I can, I want to bring myself to it, and it's not so much about making a product that is novel, but actually just getting into it and finding out what I like about it. I'm not real sold on the idea of constantly thinking of the work that you do as just a product. I think in some people are more or less attached, to the actual physical representation of what they end up with. And if it is a product to you, there's nothing wrong with that either. It's just that there's more than one way to think about it. I look at it and I want to find something out, or I want to see what I can do with the shapes that are lining up, and
Right.
stuff
Either
like
it's a technique or something that you're finding in it, or rhythm or something like that, right?
right. It used to be that I would just constantly search for, a certain technique that would make things look the way that I thought they should look, or and it's sort of like that old thing from Conan, the riddle of steel. And when you find out that most of the painting techniques that you see and drawing techniques are pretty close to the same thing. It's just the person themselves, that what they bring to it individually is what makes it different and unique. It has less. I mean, I'm making the same kind of marks almost everybody does. Uh, but hopefully the end result ends up being something that is
Well, that
more
is
more
uniquely
mine. Yeah,
yours,
yeah,
right?
yeah. But like I said, it's the same thing with music, right? You got the same notes and the same chords that everybody else does, but there's a world of different music out there.
Someone just said that up here.
Oh,
Same with music. Some
yeah,
of the greatest music was composed during troubled times.
yeah, and yep, definitely, and definitely some of the work that I do is sort of a response in my head, to some of the strife and the harsh stuff that I see going on in the world. So I sort of like create creatures to fight the real demons in my own head, if that makes any sense.
It does to me, but I live with you.
Yeah. But most of
So I
the
know those demons well.
yeah, well, most of the entities and stuff that I draw that come out in the work that I do are guardian figures. They're protectors. They may be terrifying to look at, but they're actually there, in a lot of ways in my mind, in their narrative,
Right.
in the metaphor
Right.
of the piece. They're there to protect in a sense, you know.
Well,
But,
people are complimenting you.
oh, thank you.
Saying hello from the Philippines and Mexico
Oh,
City.
cool. I like hearing. We have, I
Same
noticed on
here.
our demographic thing on Instagram, there's a lot of followers in Mexico. Did you notice that? That's
Yeah,
cool.
it is.
It's cool. I mean, it's cool from all over the world.
Someone, Jezreel asked, have you ever done any art with an airbrush?
I have actually. In fact, one of the first paintings I ever did, I used airbrush. I got to a point with it where it didn't feel as natural to me as some of the other mediums, but I actually see a lot of artists like what is it, Nato Hattori, who will use 90% of what he does looks like it's hand painted, but there's a definite part of it. Like I think there's some gradients in the background and things like that he plays with an airbrush
I have no
to good effect. Just like Olivia, Olivia de Berardines, she still paints most of her figurative pinup stuff, I think, by hand, and then she'll touch it with airbrushes in places to smooth it out.
Daniel asked, do you have a photographic memory?
I don't have a photographic memory, but I do have I have a memory that grabs hold of weird things, as we found out. Like I'll remember
That's
I'll remember
true.
themes from or narratives
Like, do you
from
remember back in 1991 when we were doing this and that and blah, blah, blah? And I'm like, what the hell?
and a lot of times it's that kind of memory, that half remembered thing from 1991 is sort of the
Smashed in with
inspiration.
something from
Yeah,
your childhood and smashed
right.
in with something else. Boy, I like where this is going.
It becomes part of you know
Someone asked, do you have an image of the final piece in your head, or do you just draw until you get a concept that you like? For
most of the
this?
time, it's like when I'm working like this, I just start and see what comes out, and I move it around until I got something that, on some level, strikes a chord. But there are times, like for contract work, when I have to go through a more formal process of developing an image because that's
Sure.
what an art director needs to
Sure.
see. You know, there are very few art directors that'll let you get away with, just do whatever comes out. That doesn't work very well
Ah,
for them.
I'm not sure
But
what that was.
yeah,
What came out
but
there?
on the times when I've been able to do it in film and stuff, though it's worked out really well. I had a lot of fun, uh, regardless of whether or not you're into a reboot of Hellboy. I had a lot of fun doing some of the creatures for the reboot that's coming out. I guess it's in the next few months, maybe. I know it's in 2019. It's coming out.
April, I believe.
So yeah, there's some stuff in it that it was really fun to work on. So
Said thanks for sharing your process.
oh yeah, no problem.
Your art is amazing.
Thanks. And a lot of times, the stuff that I'm doing like this will end up, it'll end up finding its way into another piece, that'll be a little bit more thought out
Refine.
and refined. And I'll go through a period of like laying paper or even like vellum on top of it, tracing paper and copying an iteration, and then transferring it to another piece of paper and going over it a couple of times like that. I definitely have my own process of iteration.
Do you always use reference images when drawing? How often do you just freehand it? You're freehanding it now,
I'm
right?
mostly freehanded it now. I just use this for, some structure, and I didn't really stick that close to it. I just wanted to make sure that I had a few lines in the proper places so that, some of the believability was there. I use reference for anything that I do that's more photorealistic. If it's a figure that's mostly that looks like a photograph, it probably started off as a piece of reference that I shot. I shoot models for like the realistic figures that I do, or myself. I'll use myself a lot because I did the imperfections that I did for the gallery show. That was
Cover,
that
yeah.
was mostly me because I'm the most convenient model that I have. One of the things I sort of invested in was I got a camera that has a that has a Wi-Fi link, so I can actually control it with my phone, so I can put myself in a position and see it on
On your
my
phone.
phone and take the picture and pose properly for something. Uh,
Was there an event in your career that changed your art style in a large way?
I think, yeah, I think starting a few things, but one
Not
major one
really an
was starting to work in concept work. That kind of changed a lot because I started,
well, it changed your focus, but did it change
yeah.
your art though?
Um,
Your art was changing before that though.
my personal work was changing since we had Duncan, since like
That's true.
2000. We had a kid in 2000, and that actually seemed to push me towards finding my own style a little more strongly, or my own voice more strongly than anything else, because uh, we,
That makes you realize how much
well,
waste time you
right.
waste
I mean, I
having a
realized
kid.
I realized first off that I had to have a serious work ethic with a kid, because if I didn't have a work ethic, uh, I would never get anything done. Because at first, especially, they need a lot of time. Just making sure they don't crawl off the stairs or something. You just have to make sure that they're okay. So I had to be able to work when the time was right to work, and get as much done as I could. I didn't actually start working as hard, I guess, as I do now until, I don't know, before we moved to California, right? Then I started kind of speeding up a bit and putting out a lot more
No,
work.
you put out a shitload of work before that. Really,
It,
Duncan
it, it
was
was mostly from Duncan,
2002,
yeah,
but it was just a different kind of work.
yeah,
You
it's
had a
true.
lot of work there.
I wasn't doing what you would say completely in the style that I'm working
No,
now,
no, no. It was
uh,
nowhere near the style. Doesn't look
but
anything like it.
yeah, but
It's very romantic Renaissance work.
yeah, I guess I still did a lot of work back then too, though.
That was a lot of work. I
But
can show you. I have a lot of pieces on file.
no thanks. I don't like looking back at that. It's
He
really
doesn't look
weird
back.
because, well, I don't really look back that much because uh, it was fun when we did it. I did more romantic kind of medieval fantasy, uh, and it kind of kept us going. It kept us alive. And that's how I worked. I would go to different fairs and conventions and Renaissance fairs and things like that, and do like Arthurian nights and uh, you know Guinevere and those kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Actually ended up doing a book called the Book of Nights for Barnes and Noble at one point. And that's so much different than what I do now.
It is
You
true.
know. But sorry, I have a little bit of a cold, I
Okay.
think.
I like it.
Thanks.
I like the movement. I want to see his whole body with the flowing.
Yeah, he
Oh.
looks like he would be like on a horseback, or on a motorcycle.
Do you have
Or what?
what kind of practice? Don't understand that question. Do you have an opinion on odd neargem and the kitsch movement?
Well, I like Odd Nerdrum's work quite a bit. I mean, there's a lot
Is he
of.
part of the kitsch movement though?
I mean, I don't, I
I
don't,
don't
I
know.
don't, I'm not particularly knowledgeable of movements as they are titled, but Odd Nerdrum himself, I think, has some really powerful work out there. And I guess there was a lot of guys that studied with him that kind of ended up doing a kind of a Nerdrum school.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of really beautiful work that came out of that as well. And I like his work quite a bit. Uh, I think it has there's more. I think there's sometimes more there than I've ever heard anybody really explain. I think there's a kind of a subconscious power to a lot of the work that he does. Just like with Nicolas Samore. Also, I feel kind of the same way about his work and Beksinski as well. That there's more there than the sum of their parts. It's something in their work kind of defies explanation to a degree. Of kind of why it's so compelling.
Amish says, I love your live streams. I say this every time. Thank you for doing these.
Oh, you're very welcome. Yeah, I love doing it actually. Even though every week we sit there and go, "Are we going to do it?" I don't know. It seems like a lot of energy.
I have a headache. Oh, we're sitting here watching a TV movie. Okay,
I was actually playing Borderlands.
Yeah, you were playing Borderlands too. You were lost in Borderlands.
Yeah, look, I've had this game.
It's like, fuck, I can't get out.
Well, you know that Daryl gave me that game like years ago, and I never picked it up. And then suddenly, my brother-in-law was here, and he was playing Borderlands. And I was like, I have that game, and I started playing it, and I was like, well, this is actually really fun. I think I lost like 50 hours in it so far.
Oh no. Did you ever have to spend much time working shit jobs and making art on the side before you were able to be a working artist?
Oh yeah. I mean, when I first met Vicky, I was doing crap jobs like roofing, and
1988.
it was in 1988. I did a roofing job. Ended up with kind of a pneumonia from that, and but
What?
Your
what's up?
your stream might have cut out because the Wi-Fi just got a little.
Oh,
I don't
yep,
think so.
it's on the phone. It's cellular,
Oh, okay.
so it's okay. Yeah, so
Thank you, then.
my son just told us the Wi-Fi cut out in the house briefly, but since we're on a cell signal, it shouldn't affect the live stream. So,
No, you did a lot of, and then I was working out of the. I was not working with you until I quit. I quit working out of the house and not at this job full time.
Right.
In 1998.
right.
So it's been 20 years I've been working exclusively.
And then
Two of us.
just for fun, a few years ago, I decided I wonder what it'd be like to work, for a mobile game company. And so we moved to California for a while, and I did that, which it was, it was fun. What was really fun about that was the people I got to work with. There's a lot of cool people, working in the game industry, and that's where I met. I know you guys know Carl. You probably know Carla Ortiz. I met her. We were all working at the same company, Cabana.
Ortiz.
She's awesome.
She's awesome.
And there was like
Beers.
Josh Beers,
Brian Matthews.
Brian Mathias, and and all these guys, all these people that I met at Kabam when we were working there. That was,
Yeah, but even though you were working at the game company, you were still doing
I was still
your
doing
own
my own
work
stuff.
on the side.
Yeah,
Yes.
I would work at the game company and then come home and work for 5 or 6 hours on my own work at night.
Yes.
And
Before 1998, I was working out of the house. I was worked in a sewing manufacturing plant and everything, but I would come home and work conventions and do conventions and set up, mail out to all the conventions and stuff.
when she says do conventions, we used to, frame and map prints and send them to different art shows across the country.
yeah.
And that's how that's what we did to make a living from the art. Because there's always a convention going on somewhere in the country.
Used to mail it to all the cons.
Yeah.
When you feel like a piece isn't complete, but you are not sure where to go with it, what do you feel is a good approach? Do you just come back to it later?
Yeah, I almost always will set it aside and just like look at it for, however long I have the opportunity to. I don't like pushing myself to do anything fast because I have to do that when I do like concept work. So when I do my own work, I'll take whatever time I need. So if I get to a point and I'm like stalled, I'll set it aside until something either I'll have, usually something will occur to me. It's not so much that I have to actively at that point hunt for it, but that I know if I set it aside, eventually I'll walk past it and it'll pop into my head.
Right.
Because that happens to me a lot.
Sometimes though, if it's a painting, a large painting, and you're working at it,
Well,
you have long pauses.
I do have sometimes quite long pauses, with some of them.
Figuring it out and everything.
Yes.
How long have you gone without making art at all?
This last week and a half that I've been playing Borderlands.
The
That's
first
about
night he came in and he goes, I didn't do any work at all. I was like,
That's pretty much
okay.
it.
Like it was like
I have a hard time see, it's like holidays and any kind of vacation. I have a hard time
not
investing in them because to me, it's like the hard part is getting my head back into it when I come back, because it usually, if something derails me, it'll take me a week to get back into it in the way that I was.
Yeah. So the last 3 or 4 days, it's been kind of hard. You've been like
Yeah.
pulling.
Well, yeah, it's because, well, I was so
You were
immersed.
also figuring stuff out though too.
Yeah, that's true. And I have some fun stuff to start for the beginning of the year. I'm
Oh yeah.
doing a special edition book, which will be cool. Uh, and I'm doing another print for
Sideshow?
Sideshow with a licensed character from, if everything works out all right, it's a licensed character from the DC universe. So.
That's weird. I kind of want to see it.
Hmm?
A live face, a human face in there somehow.
Hmm.
I don't know what it will do. Tips to improve anatomy.
There's only really one thing, if you're talking about human anatomy, is just, draw a lot of human anatomy. I drew from, to be straight up blunt and honest, I drew from Playboy when I was a kid like crazy because it was the only access I had to figures.
Pre-internet.
It was
You had to go
pre-internet,
buy
yeah,
Playboy
and so
magazine
I went and I drew from that quite a bit. So I drew a lot of female figure, which is funny now because I don't do so much female figure, not in that manner anyway. But just a general knowledge of anatomy, studying it, drawing it. Most of like I think I've said this in like the last live feed too, that I think most of figure drawing is teaching you how to observe anatomy. There's definitely a part of it that people use to try to memorize anatomical structure so they can make things up when they don't have a model nearby. But I think the biggest benefit of it is just that it heightens your ability to look at a form and know what's going on with it. It heightens your observational skills. Because to be honest, you don't need to know the bones underneath, in the wrist in order to draw what happens with the bones in the wrist if you see it. But you do need to be able to see it plainly without
where the shadow is. And
without assumptions and without because a lot of times what people draw is what they think is there instead of what is actually there. It's that old thing. I think you may have seen it before, where they say, most people will draw a chair and they'll draw the same chair over and over again. But if you put a chair in front of them and they draw it, then they'll draw something that looks more like a real chair. So.
Whatever happened to the piece, The Gate of Fire?
Oh, I still have it. It's still over in the. It's over there in my flat file, and it actually is still in progress. That's a piece that I come back to because it meant a lot to me. It still does, and so I let it sit there until that's something I won't work on until I'm inspired to work on it. There are many things I'll work on because I have a work ethic, but there's some pieces that I want them to want to be made, so to speak, and so I'll wait for that. I'll wait to be called back to it in a way. I do have this thing that where it's true, you cannot wait for inspiration to work. But the other half of that most people, I don't know that people hear very often, is when you are working and you're inspired, don't ignore it. You know what I mean? If you're working in the middle of a job and something inspires you, get as much of it down as you can get down without
So you
destroying
can remember it.
Yeah. Don't ignore it when it does happen. Don't wait for it to happen to work, but don't ignore it when it does happen.
Now this question could be taken one way or the other. Does drawing live make you self-conscious at all?
Yes.
I assume like this. Yes.
There's only one way to take that.
Yes. Okay.
I noticed
I
this.
read it as live drawing, and I thought she meant live model drawing, but that's
Well,
not. What,
yeah.
That's not what it is.
Drawing
It's
in front of a live feed.
Yes.
I know that I make different decisions. I can tell.
He always
because-
says that, which is why he's like, I'm like, can I videotape you? Oh, and do your grunt. He's always growling.
I usually, though, it depends. If there are things that I'm working on that I won't live feed on because I don't want to change my direction and my thought process by being in
Right.
front of people when I do
Right.
it. And something like this, I started it this way, and I don't mind continuing it this way. It could reach a point where it would tip over into a different realm for me, and I would like if I work on it after the live feed. I'll slow down and I'll start going back and thinking about making more dramatic changes to it. Right now, I'm using it as a way of sort of this is a way of quelling nervousness at talking.
So
You know, so because I mean I do that, and I'll also do that at shows too. When I'm in the middle of we go to something like Monsterpalooza or whatever. If there's a lot of people, or or if I'm nervous about something, if I'm nervous about how well the show's going to go, I'll sit down and start drawing because that's how I take my mind out of anxiety and I put it in a better place.
right. So yes, it makes him he is self-conscious about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is why when he goes, oh yeah, I guess, what, 6 months or so, when you're like, yeah, okay, we'll do a live feed. I was like, yes, better I better jump on it right away.
I'm pretty straightforward. I'm an introvert. I have learned how to talk like this, and it's probably because I'm talking. I know I'm talking to people, but it's all being kind of filtered through you.
Filtered through me.
Yeah, and so well, we've talked about this before, that I do like. It's not that I don't like being around people. I'm more of I guess you could say, a voyeur. I like to
Right.
look at them and watch people. And
No, they understand.
yeah,
All these guys understand, I'm sure. Or at least 90% of them do.
Hmm.
How do you avoid your hand smudging a pencil when you're doing a big pencil piece? Sometimes you don't avoid that.
no, sometimes it happens, and I don't mind it because usually whatever smudge it makes is going to be lighter than the value I'm going to put down anyway.
Right.
So you won't see it. And if I want to keep from smudging it, I use a mall stick like this, which
Or it's in your box, right? This
Yeah.
is a small enough paper that it goes in your box.
yeah, I can put it in one of those cradle boards and use another piece of wood like this and just hold my hand over it so that it rests a quarter of an inch above it.
You can see it.
So.
Does caffeine help you focus when drawing?
Yeah, most of the time.
He just loves caffeine.
I have 2 or 3 coffees a day. There have been definite times though when it can wire you too much, and it makes it hard to calm down and settle down. But one of the things though that I'd noticed, and it was kind of an oddity, was that when I first started drinking coffee, it didn't really speed me up as much as it focused me.
Right.
It would kind of redirect, because I had a lot of, I don't know if you'd call it hyperactivity, but I did have a lot of ADD, and for whatever reason, coffee had the opposite effect on me that it had on most people. It didn't really make me buzz and run around. It sort of calmed me down, and I mentioned that at one time to one of the doctors when I was talking to him about that, and they said, well, that's one of the things that happens with some ADD people, is that stimulants will have sort of an opposite effect on them. So
Similar to the last question, this bounces off the last one. Does having a large audience have a dramatic effect on what you draw? Wait, there's more to it. You guys keep scrolling through too fast. I laugh at the end of this question, though, not at the question, but do you feel like you are somewhat obligated to fulfill the expectations of your audience? And I laugh at that because he goes, no, I will not fulfill your obligations.
you know what? I don't really think about it like that. I everything that I post usually is something that I would, I don't really have anything that up there that I wouldn't have done for myself. And yes, there's some weight to being watched. People's eyes on you will, like I said, it'll cause you to make different decisions sometimes. But that being said, I still, it's still me. I'm still, having fun with it, and still, the fact that I might, calm down and make slightly different decisions when nobody's watching, I do that all the time. That's 99% of my time. So it doesn't really bother me to sit down and play like this,
Gerald piped in, don't make me tell them how much Diet Pepsi you used.
Oh, I used to drink a lot of,
Oh my God.
yeah.
Too much
I would
soda.
drink, a lot of
You
soda.
didn't drink any soda.
Actually, I don't drink any now.
Me pop it all.
But what was the original question? Did I answer the question?
You did answer the question, yes.
You
did.
I don't really feel the weight of it. I don't feel a
They want to know
responsibility.
obligated.
Yeah,
you
I
feel
don't.
obligated.
I don't. No, I don't really feel obligated.
He doesn't feel obligated to do something for me.
No, I mean, I've had
And I'm
things
married to him.
I've had things that I've done before that were like that would make great series pieces because I don't know
Like,
I have a
yes,
hard
because
time.
people like series.
Well, they do, but I have a hard time. I don't necessarily have. It doesn't. It's not so much fun to just reproduce a piece because it's going to sell well because the first one sold well. Not to me. There are people that do that that have a talent for it, and I think that I tried. I've tried it before. It just never works out very well for me. If I try
It's
to,
not. He's not doing it just in spite of me. Is what I mean.
no, I don't. I don't do anything in spite of you. It's just that
To spite me, I mean.
no.
I go,
Uh,
will you do this series? And he goes, no.
Well,
Maybe.
I've tried.
I know.
I think I got 3 or 4 pieces into the Arthurian series before I kind of
That's
I
true.
lost. I was like going to do like 40 of them. I was going to do like every
Yeah,
character
you're gonna do all
from the Arthurian
all
legend.
Arthurian legends, all the knights, all the characters.
And then I was like, but see, the ones that
Anyway,
I did
no.
do, the thing that I
Oops, sorry.
when I do a piece that's part like I did the imperfections for the Copro show.
Yeah, but that's not like the
It's
same
different
character.
because what I did, well, I mean, but they were similarly themed pieces.
Yes.
But what I came to the conclusion I came to is that if you can do a series and approach each piece looking for that thing that made you love doing the first piece and not just try to reproduce the first piece in a different way,
Right.
then it works for me. If I can if I can go back and find a reason that to do another piece and it makes me feel the same way, then I can do it.
A couple people have asked if you read manga, like the art in manga.
I look at a lot of art, so I guess I've seen a lot of the manga art. I wouldn't be able to tell you what it was from,
Oh my god!
but
Wait,
I think there's some really cool stuff. I have a book called Oxide that I think is
Wait.
from what?
it is 9:49.
Okay,
You've been talking for like 40 minutes solid.
I'm supposed to.
I know. I'm just going to say our website is AllenWilliams Studio. Yes, I know you're supposed to. Our YouTube channel is also on YouTube at AllenWilliams Studio. Our Patreon, if you want to go over and check that out, which I'm jumping back into that next week, is at patreon.com/AllenWilliams, since it's impossible to search things on Patreon. And of course, we have our Facebook page if you want to see that and everything. Yes, I know
So
we have Twitch, but we haven't jumped into that yet.
so I got into one of the first things that we saw. Remember was Record of Lotus Wars
Oh yeah, we used to watch.
and the Wind Ninja Scrolls,
Yes,
which we loved.
the Ninja Scrolls. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, there was some things that we did get into for a while. I don't think I've ever sat down and watched any of the real traditional like manga series stuff. But I know that there's
Yeah,
cool stuff out there.
because we hardly ever get to go out to watch movies, and we went to see the Spider-Verse, and
Oh,
I didn't even
that was
want to.
that was
I
awesome.
didn't even want to go see the damn movie. I was like, yes, I'll go
Yeah,
to
but
be
it
with
was good. It
everyone,
was so
to be
good.
with people. It was such a great freaking movie.
Into the Spider-Verse was
Into
so
the
good.
Spider-Verse. Oh my gosh. I mean,
Yeah.
and I mean, I'll go see movies. We just don't usually go out to movies because, oh my God, you guys have to go see it. It was so great. Because I remember the little manga girl in it.
Oh yeah,
Penny Parker.
she had
I know.
yeah, she had the robot.
The giant
Yeah.
robot.
Yeah.
It was awesome. Everything about that movie was fantastic. All right, people are asking questions. Hold on.
Mhm.
I had to go back. Sorry, I have like a migraine headache tonight. I'm not sure what the problem. Do you do commissions or stick to your own work? No, he doesn't do commissions.
I want to do commissions.
I
It's just
don't.
that I lose interest in them
Let
if it's
him
not.
do the
If, you know.
commissions. People go, do you do commissions? I say, no. And he goes, that sounds interesting. I'm like, no, no.
What I have started, I guess, doing with some people though, that I've had people commission me to do my own stuff. Like they'll say, I want to commission the next piece at this size, and I say, what do you want? And they'll whatever it is that you want to do. I've done that kind of commission, and to be, I mean, contract work is a commission work,
Yeah, but
and
it's different than a
right.
commission of a individual. You just feel you flow
Well,
better.
the problem with doing commissions that aren't like legitimate, like contracted work, is that there usually there's an open timeline, and
Yes.
there's an old phrase that work will expand the time allowed, and it's like if I don't have like a deadline set up on something, then I'll just continue to just kind of work stream of consciousness, and
Yeah, I got to
and
pull out
forget
the
about
calendar.
it. Yeah.
We got some deadlines for that. Do you have any advice on how to create believable texture in any form? Example, a person made of bricks.
Well, that's all about, I think that comes through this studying and doing actual physical studies of bricks, of, what light does when it hits them. And, you kind of have to do some like mock-ups and stuff of that sort of thing. If I wanted this, if I wanted to do a figure made of bricks, well, one of the things I might do is sculpt it digitally and play with it.
Oh, and ZBrush to
Or I
see
might
how.
I might grab a light photograph of a human figure and transpose like the negative shapes of the bricks on top of it,
Right.
and like something in Photoshop, just to give myself a representation of what it could look like, and then when I work into it, I try to put more into it than what's represented.
What's there?
Yeah,
Right, right. And
I
you
try to
also
think.
take if you do that digitally or create some reference digitally, when you print it out, you'll print it out in black and white to see the values.
Right. I almost always think in terms of value, even with paint. So most of my reference is printed in black and white.
Oh yeah, I got to show you the what is it? The something colored or something where you see it pulls your palette from from Instagram.
Oh
I was
yeah.
like, well, this is a pretty that looks about right. Most of them are dark grays, light grays, in one spot of
I'm
like a sepia.
very much even the color pieces I do tend to be kind of
Yes.
monochromatic. So,
Saying
but
thank you for
but
doing your thing.
anything that you don't know how to draw, you do enough studies of it, and it'll start to work for you, I think. Uh, that's one of the things that like Ian McCaig does. If he's drawing something, if he's got a creature and it specifically needs the head of a Komodo dragon, and he doesn't already know what it looks like, he'll do a study of a Komodo dragon's head
Or a couple
on a
of
separate,
studies.
in a separate piece of paper, and then come back to it and draw it with just that knowledge in his head, so that his mind can adapt it to the form
Yeah,
in it.
watching
Yeah.
him draw is crazy.
Well, he's one of the guys that says, and I'm totally on board with, you have to be brave enough to do a really crappy drawing at first so that you can get to a good drawing a few stages down the
Always.
road. Yeah.
We
So,
keep telling that to our kids too.
well, yeah, that
It's like, I'm not good at this. I'm like, you've done it like 3 times. Of
yeah.
course you're not good at it.
Once you get over the part where you suck, you'll be great.
Yeah, it's like it's.
So,
Believe me, he has drawers and garbage pails full of stuff that don't look right.
oh yeah.
You.
Well, this one is full. This one's right now is full of magic sketches because I was doing some magic card stuff and I didn't like what was going on. So I'm about 30 drawings into that. So,
I'm like, get it done. You like, it's not that going the way I want it to look.
yeah. I'm one of those people though that, and this, you probably wouldn't take like business advice from me in this respect, but that I will like sacrifice time, I mean deadline time, to try to get it to make it better. If it's not working, I'll just keep working on it until they call me and yell at me. I'll take it.
You
I
don't do
don't.
that all the time.
I don't do that all the time, but there are times when I'll sit there and I just have to. I have to, put a lot into it. I told this one the first time I did a book cover. I specifically remember talking to the art director and saying, I need enough time to be able to screw this up a couple of times before I do the right one. you know. So
I like him.
yeah,
I do. I don't know why I think it's a him. Maybe it's a her.
it could be. See, already there's like this thing. Okay, so you got this, and this, and they're too evenly paced. The rhythm is too even for me. So
Oh, the spaces too.
yeah. So there's that. I don't know. There's a compositional thing that I read at one point that actually makes a whole lot of sense as a good rule is that you should never have three of anything in a
Perfectly
sequence.
even.
Yeah. If it hits three, then it starts to become a noticeable pattern that detracts from any kind of natural, like, organic look. And in composition, it's like that too. It's like you have three things, and you put them evenly spaced. Or what you have to do is, have two of them closer together and one of them further apart. It's that uneven spacing that makes it
Yes.
more interesting.
They said hello from Chile and Brazil.
Oh, cool.
And then Andrea says, I relive your art, but in Portugal, it's almost 4 a.m.
Oh, that's late.
I know it is very late, but this will save on our stories so you don't have to be here live.
Yeah, yeah.
I know, we need to do an earlier one.
Yeah.
We need to do like 2 in the afternoon for our European
Which is
friends. over
that's
there.
actually morning for me because
Oh, yeah,
I
that's
work at late at night and I tend to stay up until 6 or 7 in the morning
That's
and then go to
true.
bed.
And so, like at 2 in the afternoon, he would look at me and go, "What?"
But
We will though.
we're almost done.
I know. I know.
It does go by
We started
fast
about
once we start.
5 or 10 minutes afterwards. So we got about 10 minutes left, you guys. And yeah, for the new year, we'll get into Twitch and the book will be done. Started.
I believe you.
Thank you. I'm glad you believe in me.
What?
That's why I can do so well. All that I do. Oh, my headache's finally going away.
Okay.
I had like a headache half the day. I think it's my glasses. I have to start getting up at 5:30 a.m. again on Monday. It's gonna be harsh.
It's going to be hard on the kids too because they've been staying up late.
I know. It says absolutely beautiful.
Thank you.
They're just watching you draw.
I guess there's just something about skulls tend to be kind of easier to draw than, well, I mean, obviously the skull is easier to draw than a human face covered in skin. Well, because I mean, you can fudge it a lot because you can play with the lines and angles and stuff.
Well,
But
because,
when you're drawing a likeness or when you're drawing a face, if something is off in a human, a regular face, it's noticeable right away.
I'm gonna
You know.
ask where is the miniature skull? Oh, where's the
this one?
miniature skull from? It is from a place called anatomytools.com.
Yeah, and they have them that are naturally colored like this, and then they have the gray ones like this. So, and I actually have a lot of these
He does.
because I have plans for certain things.
No, he just has a bunch of them.
I do, and I have some metal ones too. And then I found this the other day. I found some finger armor.
Was that here, or did you?
I don't know
just
where
order
it
that
was.
in?
No, it was in your jewelry making stuff.
Oh, put that up so the other people can see.
What?
It. The other people can see it.
Oh, this. If it's above this line, they can see it.
Oh, you can behind.
So yeah.
Oh, it was in my jewelry making stuff.
Mhm.
Oh. Pierre says, just letting you know that I've loved your work ever since I saw it on Creature Spot 7 or 8 years ago.
Oh, thank you very much. That was posting to Creature Spot was great. Doing stuff for because I used to do the conceptart.org site for a long time. I would do the Creatures of the Week, Characters of the Week thing.
Oh, that's what
was
really
fun.
helped push you too. didn't it?
Actually, it did. I got into that, and it was I don't know. It was.
It's kind of pre-social media, wasn't it?
It was like it was pre-social media, well, at least for me. I mean, I'm sure it was going on. The people in the know probably were getting involved in it, but and I just started, it was more of just a giant learning environment, and that was in 2000, I think.
No, later than that. If it was 7 or 8 years ago.
No, I think it was in
2010.
2000.
Oh, it was even earlier.
Yeah, I think because I was doing
No, it was after Duncan was born.
it had to be because I was about the same time I was doing
Like
I went to
2005.
IMC the first year.
2006 or 7 then.
Yeah. So it was around 2006 or 7.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
How long would you say it took you to get to where you are with your artistic skills?
53 years old.
53 years old, yes. Yes.
And I mean, you can look at our timeline from what I've been posting, and I would say in the last probably 10 years, my stuff started looking like this. Is that
Well,
what we've come
everything
to?
that I have up on the website and on Instagram and everything is your more recent work. And so I don't show this stuff from beforehand.
I'm a slow learner, though.
Well, I mean, yeah,
So-
some people get to it. That's okay.
Some people find their voice earlier. Some people later. I feel like I'm always constantly, refining it.
Oh, thank you.
But
May brought you your drink.
oh, thank you.
So,
Right. So I feel like, for me, it didn't really start kicking into high gear until I started actively trying to figure out what it was that I wanted to do.
And then you were talking about your style, but you were always working at it and everything like that.
Right.
If you weren't, he did some of the first Magic cards in the early '90s. He did
Yeah,
stuff with
I
Dragon
did.
Magazine and White Wolf.
I did stuff in Dragon Magazine when it was still a magazine.
Yes.
Yeah,
White
and
Wolf.
I did early stuff with White Wolf and Peter
Some
Jackson.
games.
No, Steve Jackson games. Peter
Steve
Jackson's the director.
Right. Steve Jackson.
Steve Jackson games. I did. Yeah, believe it or not, Car Wars, which was an old RPG. I did a lot of RPG stuff early on.
Yes.
I just didn't. I mean, I didn't even know what to do when I started. I mean, when I started doing this, basically you had comic books and gaming.
Yeah.
I didn't even know there was such a thing as concept art,
Yeah.
and nobody knew enough to tell me about it. You know, so
Were you always skilled at human anatomy?
actually no. When I first started, I avoided it like the plague. I only drew creatures for so long because I was terrified of drawing human figures, and then I started drawing human figures, and I just sort of leapt into that and did that.
And you had a very comic book style at first. It was
I did.
line work, and
Yeah, I did have a very comic book kind of line work, and
that's how you started with the human anatomy, and then you went into painting and pushing it and
Right.
everything like that.
right. And I did a lot of. At first, I did pinup, a lot
Does
of
that thing
pinup stuff.
stop recording if your screensaver goes on?
What
I don't
that?
think so.
I don't think so. I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe.
It's almost time for us to wrap it up, you guys. But
What you have to do is just figure out how much you have to practice at something in order for you to forget how hard it is to actually do it.
that, and don't get too impatient, because
Yeah.
you've been working professionally for 30 years, and so his stuff didn't look like this 30 years ago, and that's okay, because he just hadn't drawn as much.
Right. And
Because sometimes you see stuff on the internet and you go, oh my gosh, you get to see everybody all the time and see all these
well, yeah,
these things.
you
and
get to see
go,
the best representation of the
Right.
work, without knowing how much they've actually had to put into it.
Right.
And
There's a whole lot behind it that makes them who they are.
I feel like, you can never regret, the work that you do early on because it gets you to the place you're going to get to. But there's a lot of work I did early on that I would never show anybody. I actually have people, bring stuff up to me at shows, and I'll go, "Oh no, I don't. That was my cousin. He died."
No, stop. You do not.
No, I don't.
You
I don't.
don't.
No, I don't. But I feel like it because I don't. It's like work that I should have. If I had had a more formal, I guess you could say, education in terms of drawing and painting, I would have been able to avoid some of the mistakes and stuff that I made early on.
It's okay.
But I did learn everything honestly, through trial and error. So when you learn things when you learn things that way, you
Gives
tend
it
to learn
away.
it very deeply. So
No, I have to chuckle. Okay, visit our site at Allen Williams Studio, because it'll pop off here into 2 or 3 minutes here. We'll have gone an hour. Allen Williams Studio is our website. It is also the YouTube channel at Allen Williams Studio. These videos will go up under stories for 24 hours, and then they go up on our Patreon, which is at patreon.com/Allen Williams. And then, of course, we're here on Instagram at I_justdraw. And yes, we will jump into Twitch. We've said that for the last 2 or 3 months. 2 months.
we just have to build a
And
habit.
Twitch, it's the same. We have the same handle as our Instagram tags, or as our Instagram. MN Sloth asks you, what are some techniques you use when you start composing a piece? Sometimes he just starts drawing.
Well, like with this, I just sort of started. But in terms of techniques, I'll one of the things I do very often is I'll kind of very loose, kind of a scribble, in terms of abstract composition and things like that.
Okay, we got 20 seconds.
All right. Well, and then I'll see if I can't find some sort of. I do a lot of Rorschachian looking into pieces. Like,
All right, you guys. We'll have to go on to that question more next week. We will talk to you later. And goodbye.
have a good day.
Thanks.
Night.
Night.